Small town folks and their small town values. Faith, family, freedom. Excuse me? You said I left some stuff out? What are you talking about? What is this? Bigotry, murder, misogyny, opioid addiction, xenophobia, lynchings, homophobia, Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you for that. According to the National Center for Health Statistics data, the overall death rate in rural areas is 20% higher than in urban areas. Many small towns have a higher per capita murder rate than large cities, and a woman is just as likely to be raped in a small town as she is in an urban area. Rates of child abuse and neglect are generally higher in small towns than in urban areas. Though some would claim that small towns are the bastions of human kindness and morality, we all know that the reality is much more complicated than that. Many small towns historically have represented extreme danger to people of color and the LGBTQ community. There are still many small towns to this day that can be classified as sundown towns, a place where Black people are not welcome after the sun goes down. So to help set the record straight, I'll be doing a 3-part series called Stuff You Could Definitely Try in a Small Town and Probably Get Away With It. This is part 1, Forsyth County, Georgia. Forsyth County, Georgia was an all-white town until the mid-1990s, and not by happenstance either. It was that way by design. In October of 1912, after an 18-year-old white woman named May Crow was brutally raped and murdered, the white men of Forsyth County beat Rob Edwards, a 24-year-old black man, to death as retribution without a trial of any kind. They then filled his body with dozens of bullets and hung him up from a telephone pole. After a dubious trial, they quickly hung 2 black teens for the same crime, Ernest Knox and Oscar Daniel.
There's incredibly strong evidence to suggest that Rob Edwards was simply picked up as the nearest black man in the area when her body was found. And that the trial of these 2 teenagers, Ernest Knox and Oscar Daniel, they were 16 and 18 cousins. Very strong evidence that whatever else, they didn't get anything we would call close to justice.
They then went on a racial cleansing rampage, driving out all 1,100 of the county's black citizens, about 10% of the county's total population, from their homes. They were only allowed to take what they could carry by hand. White citizens took over those black residents' homes and land after they left, which is how many of Forsyth County's established families gained their wealth. They fiercely guarded Forsyth's borders for 75 years through violence and intimidation. Things only began to change when a group of black civil rights activists, led by Hosea Williams, came to Forsyth to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the racial cleansing in 1987. They were met with Confederate flags and had bottles and bricks thrown at them in 1987. A few weeks later, a much larger contingency showed up, accompanied by the National Guard and the national news media. This time, Coretta Scott King, Andrew Young, Jesse Jackson, and Oprah Winfrey were all there too. Oprah did an entire episode of her show from Forsyth County.
My name's Frank Shirley. I'm the head of the committee to keep Forsyth and Dawson County white. There were thousands of white people that came out to join our white people's protest.
Even with all the national exposure, Forsyth County remained an all-white community until the mid-1990s.
Try that in a small town.